Again, we're going to be speaking about how to increase self-esteem, your self-worth of a child. Now, this is a very big problem nowadays. It's very surprising because nowadays children have very low self-esteem, and it's also that adults have low self-esteem, and they don't feel good about themselves, and that is a big problem. And in fact, there are a few things that is problematic with a child who has low self-esteem. Somebody who has low self-esteem as a child, they're not going to be successful. It's very, very difficult for that person to be successful. Number one is that they're always going to be unsure about themselves. They're going to keep on second guessing themselves. And number two, they're also going to worry, and they're going to think that other people are not going to accept them because they're not cool enough and they're not, up to par with the other kids in their class, or if they're older in their college, whatever it is that they are. Number three is they allow themselves to be treated bad. This is a very big problem. You see marriages that the wife, let's say, gets abused, or the husband gets abused. It could also go work that way. And when you ask them, like, what's going on? Why don't you just either get out or try to fix it? And they think, this is who I am. I can't get better than this. They grew up, their parents were abusive, and so it's just like a continuous cycle that they think this is all that it's going to be. So they get stuck in that. Number four, they'll have a very hard time standing up for themselves. If a child has low self-esteem and somebody else starts bullying him, or who knows, chas v'shalom, it could be even worse than that, they will have a very difficult time standing up for them because they think, I deserve it, or this, or even if not to that extent, they'll think like, okay, what's the big deal, yada, yada, yada. They will also... kids with low self-esteem also avoid many challenges. They're not interested in doing things if they know that they're going to fail. They're not going to be doing things that they are going to, even if they think they're going to fail. So they're going to avoid anything that's maybe a slight challenge for them. And when you don't do something that is going to be a little bit difficult for you, you're not going to grow. You're going to stay exactly where you are. It could be in academics, it could be in sports, it could be in anything. And number six is that they give up very easily. They'll give up. Two things go wrong, that's it, I'm done. Throw in the thing, I can't do it. And the last thing I want to mention is also they have a very hard time bouncing back from their mistakes. So if they have, if something bad happens to them, and it will devastate them. It will take them a very, very long time to actually feel better about themselves. Okay, so now let's speak of how can you increase your child's self-esteem. And again, I'm saying it in a way of a child, but think of it, you could increase the self-esteem of anybody else. It could be a spouse, it could be a friend, it could be a sibling, and I believe in nowadays and age, almost everybody needs an increase in self-esteem. Not an increase in arrogance, not an increase in pride, but rather an increase in self-esteem. In your self-worth. So the number one thing that you could and it should always be the number one thing, if you want to help somebody else with self-esteem, the first thing is that you have to have good self-esteem. You cannot help somebody to increase their self-esteem if you're lacking, and if you're somebody who doesn't feel good about themselves. It's just not going to go over well. Number two is always validate your child. Now this I have to be very careful with how I say that, because validation is a term used nowadays, especially in the science and in the psychology world that I think it's thrown around way too easily. Firstly, there is if a child does something wrong, or as a parent, you are required to discipline them. Sometimes you need to say no. You have to tell a kid no. There was once I was reading this story that there was this kid who was in the park and he found like this, like a barbed wire attached to a rock. It was something like really dangerous. And he was like swinging it around like a cowboy. And one of the mothers saw him swinging this like sharp metal object. She runs over to her child, pulls the child away, and then she starts announcing like, whose child is this? And one of the mothers, oh, that's my child. What's the problem? And she's like, tell your child to put down this dangerous weapon that he's swinging around. It's dangerous. It's going to hurt somebody. So she's like, in front of everybody over here, I would never do that. What, and insult the child in front of everybody? Let him play. When we get home, I'll speak to him and we'll discuss it. And this mother was going crazy. So it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, this guy's going to hurt somebody. What do you mean? And she didn't say anything. She took the child. She went home. She called her friend who was a psychologist. And she said, listen, I might be crazy. So her friend was actually a child psychologist. I might be crazy, but does that make sense? She's like, saying that she's going to not validate her child. It's going to make her child feel bad. Maybe, am I wrong? So the psychologist starts laughing and she says, that nowadays there's a new thing called pop psychology, where everybody who thinks that they're anybody will write there, they open up a blog, Psychology 101. Meanwhile, it's a 12-year-old girl writing this blog, and she's telling how to be and where does she get the information from? What studies? People just make things up, and it goes into the internet, and people go on the internet and they read it, and they're like, okay, this is what I have to do over here, this is what I have to do over here, and people get the wrong ideas. And this is a big problem You look in the internet, you have a lot of, very easily able to get a lot of information from the internet. But at the same time, you can get very wrong information. This is both in anything. Even if, let's say you're looking for something from medicine, you're not sure about it, there's legit information and there's not. This is especially true in the Torah. The problem is that people go and they Google questions of a halakha. They'll search halakha thing, and there's Reform Judaism, there's Conservative Judaism, there's a big Reform website. I don't know if I should say it, I'm not going to say it, but there's a big Reform website, doesn't say Reform. It just says, like Jewish, library, whatever, it has like a Jewish name in it. People go on there, they read upon it, it doesn't have any aspect of Reform, and people think, okay, that's I read it online. And meanwhile, it's completely reformed. The halakha is completely twisted. They base it off. They'll quote the Talmud. They'll even quote halachic books, and then they'll just twist their own thing at the end, and it's completely false. What? Yeah. But the problem is it's Jewish. It looks Jewish. It's not like you go to Bible Hub. You see a cross. Like it's very obvious that it's Christian. Over here, you think it's Jewish, and the problem is it's not Jewish. It's completely opposite Judaism. It's also very important when you have to learn how to do research. If you ever want to do research on a subject, if you want to go online, you have to know what you're doing. You can't just go and be like, okay, how to do this, and just go into everything, into any website that you want. That's why when people do research on, let's say in the scientific world, it has to be who was it published by, who was it written by, where did you find this? Was it in a also legal documents? They don't just research on some like lawyers.com, which I'm sure is probably a great website. I don't know, I just made that up. But they just go somewhere and search up law things. And there, take the law from there. So that is the problem now. But anyways, moving on to what we're talking about. Number 3 is you have to show love and affection to your child. This is not only for your child, but for your spouse as well. You need to show love and affection to the people that you love. And it is even said, a baby that's dealt with love. A baby, it's cute. You hug and kiss it. He doesn't remember what. A baby could fall down, hurt himself. Even better yet, you hit the baby. Now, again, I'm not promoting hitting, but let's say somebody hits a baby, the baby falls down, cries, and is really upset about you. You pick him up, you start playing, you throw him up in the air, 2 seconds later he forgets. So, but you think, okay, the baby has short-term memory. He's not going to remember if I hugged him or kissed him or kissed her. Or, doesn't. They're not going to remember the love and affection. And the answer is, no, it's not. They have it in the subconscious. They feel the love, they feel the attention, and they feel it helps them grow in that particular matter. Number 4 is to compliment your child. And compliment your spouse also. This is very important, especially for the men. Men, it's very important to always compliment your spouse. Even if she looks like a horse, she looks beautiful. Even if she cooks like, somebody who's blind and doesn't know the difference between sugar and salt, you still compliment her. Cooking is amazing. You always compliment. What's very important is you have to make sure your compliments are credible. This is very important because, so the wife will bring out like a burnt piece of like meat, and you dig your knife and everything crumbles all around from the burn, and you can be like, wow, this is delicious. She's going to know that it's not delicious. You have to make things that are credible. Also for a child, don't start saying oh wow, you're the best person in the entire world. This is something called overpraising. You're overpraise a child. Every little thing they do, you're like, you're amazing, you're the best thing. The problem with this is that once a child gets older, they're going to feel that they don't have to do a lot to be amazing. They'll be like, what are you talking about? I drew a stick figure when I was 12 and my mom said I was amazing. Like, why should I try for anything harder? So there's also a problem with overpraising. So it's very important to give praise, to give compliments, but you have to do it right. Number 5 is to set goals for your child. You have to go and set goals. A few more minutes and we'll be done. I'm going to go through these lists. You have to set goals for your child, achievable goals that they could attain. One of the most important things is also when you criticize. Now, there's very big thing, don't criticize. I am not in that category where I say you're not supposed to criticize, because I do feel like, at times, especially children, need criticism. But what is very important, and I like this idea, you don't criticize the person, you criticize the object, or you criticize the action, better yet. So this is also good for, if let's say that there's a friend who's not doing well, and you want to give him constructive criticism, then you don't criticize the person, because then what happens is if you tell the person he's doing bad, there's a block that just shoots up. Be like, okay, I don't want to deal with this right now, and I don't want to talk to you, and they don't hear anything. A child, you say, okay, you're a tzaddik, you're an amazing person, you're a tzaddikah. How could you don't do such a thing? It's not fit for you. You're such a righteous Jew. How can you do that? Number 7 is to be proud of your child. This is also very important, which is going to lead into number 8, which we can really put it together, is you're supposed to talk positively about your child. This is also important in the spouse, in your future, in your wife, or in your future wife, or in the husband. it's very good. They feel very good about themselves if you compliment them, you praise them in front of other people. So like your wife's friends come over, it'd be like, oh, and you start to, or a family friend comes over, it'd be like, oh, my wife's cooking is the best. You have to see this, and you praise her, but in front of other people, it does a tremendous amount of to the self-esteem. And this is also for the child. You praise a child in front of other people that child respects, means a lot to that child, and will increase the self-esteem. And number 9, this is important for your child and for your spouse. Never compare. Do not compare your child to somebody else, your spouse to somebody else. The worst thing, right? You're sleeping on the couch at night. If you're going and you'll be like, how come you're not like Moshe's wife? And that's it. That's really the end of conversation for that night. The rest is just complete screaming on her part.
Shouldn't also from child to child, like brother.
Never compare. Be like, how come you're not like more your brother? How come you're not like your friend Johnny? Johnny's such a good kid. Why don't you like more like him? Don't compare that because it's going to put them down. What? You have a favorite, you keep it to yourself. Yeah. Definitely don't say. You tell every child they're your favorite. It's like, you're the favorite one. And they go, oh, you're the best one. I love you.
That's not how Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov did.
True. Well, hopefully you don't have a child like Ishmael or Esav.
What about Yaakov? He loved
Yaakov
more than everybody.
Yeah, but so Yaakov loved Yosef more than everybody, but did he tell the other children that, or did they just see that? So, yeah. So, that was also a very different story also. You're talking about over there where he lived through... It is, because he's Rachel, his favorite wife, if you may, he's living through his son.
My wife was also...
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll stuck with one wife. Yeah, favorite wives. It'd be like, why can't you be my other wife? She's like, what did you say? Nothing. What? I didn't say anything. Number 10. And we're going to go through until number 12. Number 10 is don't call child names. Do not use... sarcasm in children doesn't work. They don't get it. I've tried it. It just doesn't work. Like, go to a child. You never tell a child, I'm going to throw away all your toys. And they'll be like, all my toys? Like, I'm not going to have nothing? And all your toys. You just go to your room. And this child is going to the room thinking tomorrow he's not going to have any toys. And the house is going to be bare empty. They don't get criticism. They don't get sarcasm. They don't understand this, especially the young children. And what they'll learn is that you're basically making false threats. So basically learn not to listen to mommy and daddy because they don't really follow through with their threats. So that is number 10. Number 11, this is very important. Spend one-on-one time with your child. And this is so important. When I was in Israel, I spoke to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law mentioned to me he has grown children, and he's very, very busy. Learns in Kola. Like the schedule is packed the whole day. But my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. But my brother-in-law, and my sister. I'm sorry. My brother-in-law spends once a month or once a week. I forgot what it is. He takes out the girls one-on-one time. It's like, it's one-on-one time with the girls. I think he does also with the boys, but in a different schedule. But on the girls, always a one-on-one. And, so I decided I wanted to try that. So I went with my daughter, and we did like stupid things. When we were biking on the ride once, taking her for ice cream, like little things. But you have to see how it changed this child. Every day she's like, and we called it Abba and Aviva Day. And she was like, when are we doing Abba? She speaks about it every time. Like, are we doing Abba and Aviva Day? It means so much for them that they're actually spending one-on-one time with their parent. So that is very important to spend one-on-one time with your parent. Obviously, with a child, obviously this goes without question regarding a spouse. You need one-on-one time. You need dates. You need to go out. This is very, very important. And lastly, we'll speak about things to help increase your child or your spouse's self-esteem. Is they need to feel accomplished. They have to feel like they're accomplishing some things. They're finishing something. They're setting goals and they're finishing the goals. They're doing something. The problem is that many people nowadays, all they do is they start projects. 25 projects are started, but nothing is finished. You don't feel good about it. They'll start learning 14 different svarim. It's not good. You try to finish one thing at a time. When you finish something, you feel very good about it. Okay, so that is those very, very important concepts on helping to improve self-esteem. Okay.